breaking news alert.
The decades-long fight over Roe v. Wade comes to an end, but the battles over abortion rights are now hitting a new boiling point. You're looking live at dueling crowds, pro-choice and pro-life advocates flocking around the Supreme Court following the justice's decision today to overturn the landmark case, ending nearly 50 years of federal abortion rights, and now giving states the final say. Similar protests happening here in central Ohio, and more expected tonight and into the weekend. We have a small one here at the State House expected to grow larger. I'm Bob Kendrick, again live at the State House right now, where we're keeping our eyes out for any demonstrations with states now holding the power whether to allow abortions. Ohio is expected to ban them. Attorney General Dave Yost announcing today that he has asked a federal judge to stop blocking the heartbeat bill, which would ban the procedure as early as 6 weeks in Ohio. Governor Mike DeWine set to speak on the justice's decision at 5:35, and of course we'll hear from him live the moment he starts speaking. His comments will come hours after President Biden ripped the ruling.
The court literally taking America back 150 years. This is a sad day for the country, in my view. But it doesn't mean the fight's over.
Former President Donald Trump, who's largely responsible for the makeup of the Supreme Court, reacting to the ruling today, telling Fox News, quote, that this brings everything back to the states where it's always belonged, adding that God made the decision. And he goes on to say, I think in the end, this is something that will work out for everybody. Well, tonight, we'd like to know what you think. You can make your voice heard in our megaphone question. We have a live poll question. Do you agree with the Supreme Court's decision? Just head to abc6onyourside.com/vote and you can weigh in with your vote here over the 90 minutes. And while you do so, here's a quick look at the status of abortion for each state. The ones in green have laws in place protecting the procedure. The states in red either have trigger laws in place making abortion illegal within the next month, or they're expected to ban abortion in the coming weeks or months. Again, Ohio is one of those states in the red. Let's bring in Tom Bosco now to kick off our special team coverage now with more on how this is playing out for the state, Tom.
Well, the bottom line, Bob, is that right now, at this very second, abortion is legal in the Buckeye State. But of course, the key question is for how long?
Legality in Ohio looks exactly the same today as it did yesterday.
Pro-choice Ohio organizer Ariana Ibarra wants women to know that as of right now, nothing has changed. Abortion is still legal in Ohio up to the 20th week of a pregnancy.
Everything is still exactly the same. If you have an appointment already, you should keep that. If you need to schedule one, go ahead and do that.
But that 20 weeks is likely to drop to 6 weeks.
Roe was poorly reasoned.
Minutes after the Supreme Court decision was announced, Ohio's Attorney General Dave Yost filed a motion to put the so-called heartbeat bill in effect. That's a 2019 law outlawing abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected, usually at about 6 weeks. It was stalled by an injunction. Yost wants that injunction lifted and the law to go into effect immediately. After that, it will be up to lawmakers at the Republican-controlled State House to decide if they want to go even further and enact a full abortion ban. Ohio Senate President Matt Huffman put out a statement today saying, I look forward to reviewing the specific details in the opinion so that as we move forward, any legislation we pass in the Ohio Senate follows the guidance of the court protecting life and upholding the Constitution. What happens when Ohio bans abortion entirely?
Black women are going to be affected the most, people in rural areas, low-income people.
Pro-choice Ohio says women will be forced to go out of state to get abortions. Pittsburgh and Detroit may be their best options, or even going farther.
Outside of, our immediate neighboring states, folks might need to travel as far as to Chicago.
And for now, 9 abortion clinics remain open in Ohio. 6 of them perform medically induced abortions only, and there are 2 abortion clinics in the Columbus area. Now, Planned Parenthood officials say they are already looking at ways to provide health care to patients should abortions be banned in the future. Steve Levine took part in a virtual briefing by Planned Parenthood officials late this afternoon, but they say the fight is not over yet. Steve.
Tom, that's right. That battle definitely not over. Check it out. You can see we have pro-choice supporters right now here at the State House. They say they are here to fight and to reclaim their freedoms. Planned Parenthood affiliates late this afternoon across Ohio held a virtual press conference. Despite expecting this ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court, they say it's still shocking. As crowds gathered at the U.S. Supreme Court this morning, Planned Parenthood officials say they already are preparing the legal battle in Ohio to prevent further abortion restrictions from happening here in the Buckeye State.
Our commitment to our patients receiving the care they need remains steadfast and unwavering. This will not change.
Again, in less than an hour, more pro-choice supporters are expected to be here at the State House as Planned Parenthood officials look at all their legal options as to what could happen next here in Ohio. Now, earlier today, pro-life supporters had a press conference. My colleague Luann Stoya was here. Luann, what's their reaction to this morning's decision?
Well, pro-life leaders tell us Ohio can now save countless lives. Those pro-life organizers say that they think we are moving ahead to a new era.
Today's a historic day. It's official. Roe is dead. Roe is dead.
Pro-life organizations gather inside the Ohio State House for a news conference. People here tell us it's a day they prayed would come.
Truth has finally had its day in court. Roe v. Wade was an unconstitutional fable from the outset, and everyone faithful to judicial interpretation knows that. There is no right to destroy a child.
Despite protesters and supporters who fought to preserve Roe v. Wade and a woman's right to choose, pro-life advocates say they will continue to work every day until all life, from conception until natural death, is protected under Ohio law.
The U.S. federal government has no say on abortion when it comes to the courts. It's been returned back to the state legislatures.
Some are voicing concerns that low-income families will be negatively impacted by the decision. Central Ohio pro-life supporters tell us they're planning to expand the work they're already doing to meet families' needs.
If a woman needs access to health care, we have it here in Ohio.
Ohio Right to Life President Mike Ganadakis says they're looking forward to the heartbeat bill coming into law. Moving forward, Ganadakis is urging people on all sides to speak their minds, but in a peaceful way.
The United States Supreme Court is not going to rewrite the decision if you go out and commit violence, you hurt somebody unnecessarily. The decision is the decision. What we can do is work together as Americans and find solutions to where we go from here.
And this evening, we are not seeing any pro-life supporters here at the State House. They left about an hour ago. Pro-life advocates are saying that they are concerned that pregnancy health centers could be targets of violence in the future. We'll have more tonight on that at 6 o'clock. Bob, back to you.
All right, Luann Stoya here, continuing our team coverage from the State House and beyond tonight. Thank you, Luann, and also Steve and Tom. Again, a 6-3 ruling by the Supreme Court today. The justice is saying that the Constitution makes no reference to abortion and no such right is implicitly protected in the Constitution. They say that Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. Its reasoning was exceptionally weak, and the decision has had damaging consequences. The dissenting justices say that they're writing their opinion with sorrow, and that the ruling diminishes women's opportunities to participate fully and equally in the nation's political, social, and economic life. We'll, of course, be out here all night. Again, more of a demonstration is expected around 6 o'clock at the State House, and we'll also be, of course, following the flood of reaction on social media. For now, with the rest of the day's news, let's send it back to the studio and station.
Bob, thank you so much. Live from the State House. And of course, we will have Governor DeWine's remarks coming up at 5:35. Another divisive issue playing out in Washington tonight, gun control. The country is about to get one of the most significant new gun legislations in decades. The House passing bipartisan gun safety legislation this afternoon, and it's now on its way to the president's desk. The bill toughens background checks for gun buyers under 21, provides billions for mental health services and school security, and closes the so-called boyfriend loophole to prevent convicted domestic abusers from buying a gun for 5 years. It also creates tougher penalties for gun trafficking. Still to come, a tragic house fire only leading to more heartbreak. We're hearing from a family member of the devastating fire in the Hilltop coming up at 5:16.
And it has been a spectacular day today. Now, does it continue through the weekend?
Protests erupting after the Supreme Court justices overturned Roe v. Wade. Left side of your screen is a live look at the huge crowds that are gathered outside the heavily guarded Supreme Court. I'm Bob Kendrick here on the right of your screen in downtown Columbus at the Ohio State House. We have a small demonstration, I'm told a pro-choice demonstration right now on High Street, right at the main entrance to the State House that is expected to grow around 6 o'clock tonight. At the heart of this ruling is a Mississippi law that bans abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. The last abortion clinic in Mississippi challenged the law, saying that it conflicted with Roe, and two lower federal courts agreed. But the state appealed, asking the Supreme Court to uphold its ban and do away with the constitutional right to abortion altogether. Thus today's ruling, and of course this ruling causing a storm on social media. You can take part in our online poll on social media. Do you agree with the Supreme Court's decision? Just go to abc6onyourside.com/vote. You'll be able to weigh in there. And let's go straight to Adam Slinger now in the studio for more reaction. Adam?
Hey, Bob. Yeah, right now, poll at 51%. Yes, they do agree with the Supreme Court's decision. A lot of debate on social media, a lot of celebrities taking to Twitter, too. Ellen DeGeneres posting this, quote, "Throughout history, women haven't been trusted not to vote or to decide who they marry, and now to make their own decisions about their bodies. But you can trust we will not let this stand, that we will be heard and we will get the rights we deserve." Taylor Swift saying, "I'm absolutely terrified that this is where we are, that after so many decades of people fighting for women's rights to their own bodies, today's decision has stripped us of that." Author and now Republican Senate candidate J.D. Vance, though, celebrating the ruling, releasing a lengthy statement saying, in part, "Today is a great day. We will continue the fight to ensure that every young mother has the resources they need to bring new life into the world." Now, his opponent obviously against the decision, Democratic candidate Tim Ryan, saying this ruling greenlights extreme proposals in Ohio that could jail doctors and deny women access to life-saving care. The only way forward is to expand our pro-choice majority. Now, there is so much more coming in from both pro-choice and pro-life advocates. You can read all the reaction and statements on the ABC6 app and our website. And we want to hear from you, too. Hear your opinions on this major change. Head to the ABC6 Facebook page and sound off.
Beautiful day, though, here in Central Ohio. Will it continue? Not so much for the weekend, but the low humidity air does come back next week. So, Stacia, I have a couple things to point out to you. We're losing daylight already. I don't know if you realize that, but we are.
Already?
We're actually going to lose 6 hours of daylight in the next 6 months. And then somebody told me last night they heard a cicada. And so I questioned people on Facebook if that was really true, because it seemed kind of early. I've had 125 people tell me they've heard cicadas in the last 24 hours.
So that sounds pretty official.
Yeah, it sounds pretty official, and it means frost in 90 days.
Oh, Jim.
So that's what that means.
I can't hear about the frost right now.
Well, I think you would like that after being in Georgia, where the heat and humidity about slammed you.
Still not ready for that,
But mark your calendars, September 24th. We'll see how that works out this year, but 125 of you have said you've already heard cicadas. So here's your futurecast. Saturday afternoon, plenty of sunshine again. Saturday night, we're quiet as well. And we have a cold front to the west of us by 3:30 on Sunday morning, 6 a.m., some high clouds here. We do expect showers and thunderstorms to be on the increase in the afternoon. And like Wednesday, a lot of the activity is going to develop east of Interstate 71 in the afternoon and then move away. So the driving forecast indicates showers and thunderstorms Sunday. We need the rain, which is so ironic because we're 5.5 inches above normal on rainfall for the year. And I see Marysville has already banned outdoor watering because it is getting so dry. Pollen numbers are coming down gradually. This will be gone until ragweed comes up, and that will be the end of July through early September. So right now, John Glenn, 86. Check the humidity, though, 32%. We love that. Highs today in the mid-80s. Tempstar Heating and Cooling Products, everybody's still in the low to mid 80s. And the heat indexes are about the same as the temperature, so that's great. Some clouds and a few showers distant west. So our low tonight, 63, sparkling skies, a very, very pleasant night. And you'll see these planets lined up in the morning at about 5 o'clock in the eastern sky just before the sun comes up. 5 in a row along with the moon. So it's going to be pretty spectacular to see that. As far as our low temperature tonight, it was 63, 92 and more humid tomorrow. Just hang on though, 79 Monday and 81 Tuesday.
Wow, that's going to be quite the difference. Thank you so much, Jim.
It's a seismic shift for abortion rights in this country. The Supreme Court overturns the landmark Roe v. Wade decision, something that the country's been bracing for ever since the draft opinion leaked back in early May. And this means that there is no longer a federal constitutional right to an abortion going forward. Abortion rights will now be determined by states. And we're out here live at the Ohio State House tonight as protests are expected. We have a small demonstration right now, which we'll check in on. We're also awaiting Governor DeWine to address the ruling at any minute. The top left of your screen is the huge crowd that's surrounding the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. Now let's pull up the map again and show you where each state stands on abortion. You can see that Ohio is among those expecting to ban the procedure. State Attorney General Dave Yost, in fact, announcing today that he is asking the federal courts to stop blocking the heartbeat bill here. And there are other states, such as Kentucky, which have trigger bans, they're called, meaning that abortion will become illegal there within 30 days of today's ruling. All of the states in green, including Washington, D.C., have laws in place protecting abortion. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar now with a closer look at the legal implications of today's decision.
A majority of the Supreme Court ending half a century of precedent under Roe v. Wade. In their opinion, Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett rule the Constitution makes no express reference to a right to obtain an abortion.
They argued that the right to an abortion is not deeply rooted in the nation's history and traditions, and therefore it's not a constitutional right.
A criteria law professor Paul Collins at University of Massachusetts Amherst says has no precise definition. Chief Justice Roberts writes a concurring opinion he agrees with upholding Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban, but would not have overturned Roe. The majority opinion says other rights, like right to privacy, contraception, same-sex marriage, are not directly affected by the court's opinion. Justice Clarence Thomas, in his concurring opinion, says they should all be reconsidered.
I think it's safe to say that those rights are under threat, despite the language in the majority opinion.
Justice Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan signing on to the dissenting opinion, one Collins describes as scathing.
Ultimately, they conclude that this is really a raw exercise of political power by a conservative court that is going to take away women's reproductive autonomy, making them less than full citizens.
As access to abortion is now left in the purview of states, a lot of women and girls are wondering what it means for them. Sky, you're from Virginia. Do you worry about losing access to reproductive care?
Of course, all the time.
Others celebrating.
We're overwhelmed with happiness. We're so excited for it to go down to the states.
Now that Roe is overturned, abortion bans in 13 states with trigger laws immediately going into effect. Another 13 are expected to follow. But enforcing those laws likely won't look the same everywhere and may even be difficult. More than half the country entering a new normal, one that existed before Roe v. Wade. At the Supreme Court, I'm Atra El-Nashar reporting.
And we're also looking tonight into what the ruling means for the future of abortion for all of the U.S. The national correspondent Christine Verzal picking up that part of the story.
The Supreme Court is illegitimate!
The emotions overflowing outside of the U.S. Supreme Court.
Hell no, we don't need Roe!
Protesters on both sides of a contentious issue gathering.
The effect on people is that they will suffer and people will die not having that access.
The only way we can secure a woman's right to choose, the balance that existed, is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade as federal law.
We trust women. We won't go back.
This as some women in Congress marched from the Capitol to the court, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi vowing to continue to fight. While public opinion polls show support for some abortion restrictions, the vast majority of Americans did not want Roe to be overturned.
We're going to go live now to Governor DeWine on what he has to say about this ruling to Ohioans.
Days and weeks ahead. But I have two reasons for talking with you tonight. First, I think it's important that as we discuss the abortion issue, we in Ohio do it in a civil way and recognize that there are people of goodwill on both sides who have strongly and honestly held beliefs. Second, I want to talk about the work that needs to be done to better support children and families and the common ground that we as Ohioans share. My fellow Ohioans, I fully understand that the Supreme Court's decision today is deeply troubling to many of you. Those of you who are pro-choice believe this is a matter of freedom, and this is a decision only the woman can make. Those who are pro-life, including my wife Fran and me, believe that the life of a human being is at stake, and we have an obligation to protect that innocent life. Now, we all have friends and others close to us whom we respect and who are on different sides of this issue. But whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, Republican or Democrat, we all need to be kind and civil and respect one another as we debate this issue. As the issue of abortion returns to the states, how we debate it is so very important. It's going to be very easy to let this debate get rough and tough, and there's certainly nothing wrong with spirited debate. However, we must do it in a way that recognizes that smart, sincere, dedicated, and caring people can have very, very different and equally heartfelt views. The First Amendment right of freedom of speech and those who choose to exercise that right must be respected, must be protected. And at the same time, even though Ohioans may disagree with each other on the issue of abortion, I do believe there's common ground and essential goals that Ohioans share when it comes to children and families. I believe that all Ohioans want this state to be the most pro-family, pro-child state in the country. And we are making great progress in creating an environment here in Ohio where families and children can thrive and live up to their full potential. Though we've made progress, we agree that we must do even more to lower our infant and maternal mortality, especially among African-American mothers and babies. We all agree that no mother or child should go hungry or not have adequate housing. We all agree that no child in this state should suffer the devastating effects of toxic lead paint. And we agree that all Ohio children must have access to good mental health services. Here in Ohio, we're doing more than ever to make sure that our youngest, most vulnerable children get the best possible start in life. We've doubled our investment in Ohio's voluntary home visiting programs, where trained professionals meet regularly with new and expectant moms and dads to teach valuable parenting skills. And through our Bold Beginning initiative, Ohio is already investing more than $1 billion to provide prenatal care, parenting classes, mentoring, education, and nutrition assistance to pregnant mothers and their families. But there's so much more to be done, so much work that remains. And so today I ask you, my fellow Ohioans, to work together with me to focus on these issues and commit ourselves to the health and success of Ohio families. As part of that commitment, I've directed our state health and human service agencies to bring me innovative new ideas for ensuring that vulnerable mothers are immediately identified and always taken care of and receive the best help that they need. In the weeks ahead, I'll be working with the General Assembly and our local communities to improve the quality of pre- and postnatal care, to increase the frequency of maternal depression screenings, and to expand mental health resources for women who experience miscarriages. We'll be working on efforts to increase awareness about adoption, to ensure that every child finds a permanent, loving home and family. And we will seek to expand healthcare coverage to more mothers and children so that no child in Ohio goes without regular primary care doctor visits, preventive care, and childhood vaccinations. My fellow Ohioans, I ask you tonight to pull together. Let's have our debate about abortion. Let's do it civilly. Let us respect each other, and let us concede that the other side is sincere in their beliefs. But no matter which side we're on in that debate, let us remember that we are, in the words of former Congressman and civil rights leader John Lewis, and I quote, "One people with one family, we all live in the same house." And like any family, while we may disagree vehemently on some things, we can still find common ground in other things. And so let us now find that common ground, roll up our sleeves, dig deep, join together in solving the problems that we all agree must be solved. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You just heard Governor DeWine live addressing today's Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe versus Wade. He called on Ohioans to find common ground and to debate with passion and civility as we move forward. His Democratic rival for governor, Nan Whaley, also speaking out earlier today. Here's some of what she had to say.
Poll after poll has shown that this is a pro-choice country and Ohio is a pro-choice state. Today's extreme court decision does not reflect the will of the vast majority of Ohioans.
She says Ohio is on the path toward criminalizing abortion and urges voters to pick pro-choice candidates in November. You can watch her entire press conference on our website. We'll be right back.
Welcome back as we continue our coverage of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. We are here live at the State House where you can see there is a small but growing pro-choice demonstration underway here at this hour. And the governor speaking moments ago with a message of really encouragement for civility among Ohioans on both sides of this issue, and also outlining the ways that he feels Ohio and his administration are becoming more family and child friendly. Now, as far as what's going on in Washington, D.C., let's give you a look here at the Supreme Court itself, where there is a huge demonstration that's been underway all day long here right now. They've been growing by the hundreds at the crowds throughout the day. This ruling by the justices takes away the constitutional protection for abortion. So it's now up to each state to decide if abortion should be legal. Ohio is expected to ban abortions as early as 6 weeks into a pregnancy. State Attorney General Dave Yost announcing today that he has asked the federal judge to stop blocking the heartbeat bill. And let's send things over now to Justin Finch with how everything is playing out in Washington and across the rest of the country.
Law enforcement at the ready outside the U.S. Supreme Court, where crowds have been gathering after word the court has overturned Roe v. Wade. The decision evoking different reactions from anti-abortion and abortion rights activists.
Now, with Roe gone, let's be very clear. The health and life of women in this nation are now at risk.
President Joe Biden blasting the decision, calling it out of step from the views of most Americans. Inside the Capitol, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi weighed in, and House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy showed support.
It's a slap in the face to women about using their own judgment to make their own decisions about their reproductive freedom.
Americans celebrate this historic victory because we know it will save the lives of millions of children.
For a near half-century, abortion has been a constitutional right, now overturned by the court's 6-3 conservative majority. In Jackson, Mississippi, the state at the center of the challenge to Roe v. Wade, mixed reaction.
I'm grateful to the Lord that Roe versus Wade has been overturned.
Women without means will suffer.
26 states are poised to severely restrict or outlaw abortion. 13 have so-called trigger laws banning abortion upon the court's decision to strike it down. Republican Senator Susan Collins calling out Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, saying that their votes are inconsistent with views expressed on abortion rights and Roe v. Wade in their Supreme Court nomination hearings. And now across the U.S., Democrat-led states are expanding abortion access. Outside the U.S. Supreme Court, Justin Finch, ABC News, Washington.
We'll be out here all night long as reaction from pro-choice and pro-life groups pours in. And we also, of course, have our live poll question up asking whether you agree with today's decision. You can take part in that. Also, our team coverage with Tom Bosco, Steve Levine, and Luann Stoya will continue here in just 15 minutes.